This is my video about adding, subtracting, and multiplying integers. This video will be divided into 6 parts. The first part is this introduction. The second part is basic information you need to know about integers to understand the rest of the topics. The third part is addition. The fourth part is subtraction. The fifth part is multiplication. And the last part is a conclusion. I apologize if this topic is dry to some of you, but it is designed to teach a high school class basic information about integers. So please enjoy my video. This is the basic information section. It's about number lines, the commutative properties. Those are the two big topics. I'll also be discussing parentheses and what integers are. Integers are the numbers on the number line, and it's how you do stuff in 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional, and 4-dimensional spaces. This is the basic building blocks to algebra. So to look at this, you have to look at number lines and the commutative property. The commutative property will be very useful in addition and subtraction. The commutative property pretty much says when you add something, the order you add it in doesn't matter. So, as you see on the board, I have A plus B and B plus equals B plus A. They equal the same thing. So next, we talk about the number line and negative and positive numbers. So, positive numbers I'll start with over here. Positive 1, positive 3, positive 5. In all problems, the positive will be invisible, so the numbers will just be written as like 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 2. And as you can see, it corresponds to the number line. Same with the negative numbers, except for the negative sign is always there for negative numbers. So you have negative 1, negative 5, negative 7, negative 3. So what does this mean? The number line starts over there at 0 and continues on to infinity in both directions. But you count by single digits. So on the right of the number line, you have 1, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And on the left, you have negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8. The reason there are arrows on both sides is because they keep on going. You can have as big of a positive number as you want and as big of a negative number as you want. So the last thing I cover in this section is parentheses. So each number can be written in parentheses and it isolates the number. So 1, you can encase in parentheses, positive 1. That's still positive 5, that's still negative 5, and that's still negative 1. Hopefully you find this information interesting, and I'll see you in the next part. Welcome to this part. This part is the third part about adding positive and negative numbers. So there are 3 cases to consider. You have the first case, where you just add 2 positive numbers. I won't spend a lot of time explaining this because it functions just like addition, like you've always remembered. Very simple. The next part is adding 2 negative numbers. So, when in addition, when they have the same sign, it keeps the sign. So you have negative 3 plus negative 2, you get negative 5. Negative 7 plus negative 3 equals negative 10. And up here, earlier, the positive keeps the sign. The last case is adding a positive and a negative number. So as you can see, these two answers are very different. You get 3 plus negative 2 equals positive 1, and negative 3 plus 2 equals negative 1. So let's look what's up. When you have 2 different signs, you subtract the numbers. You subtract the smaller number from the bigger number, and you arrive at the answer, 1. So how you determine the sign is you look for the bigger number. In the first problem, positive 3 is the bigger number, so the answer is positive. And the next problem, negative 3 is the bigger number, so the answer is negative. you see the same thing down here. 7 plus negative 3 equals 4, and negative 7 plus 3 equals negative 4. So you take 7 minus 3 gives you 4. But you have to figure out the sign. So positive 7 is the bigger number, so the answer is positive. And in this last problem, negative 7 is bigger, so the answer is negative. In this next part, we talk about subtracting positive and negative numbers. Subtracting two positive numbers is much like you've seen done, but this time I've incorporated a new rule for beginners to adding and subtracting negative and positive integers. So you turn it into an addition problem. So you get 5, and to do that, you put the negative 3 in parentheses. And because it's in parentheses, you know you're adding 5 to it. And the same thing happens in the next problem. So you get 3 plus negative 5 on the bottom, and 5 plus negative 3 on the top. And then you just follow the basic rules from last time. You know, you subtract the two numbers and you take the biggest sign. So you get 3 and negative 2. So next, I have the case where you subtract two negative numbers from each other. So I have negative 10 minus negative 5. I have negative 5 minus negative 10. So when you solve the problem, the first integer carries over the exact same state. But when you put the negative 5 and negative 10 in parentheses, the subtraction sign turns it into a positive number. It happens with the negative 5 becomes positive 5, and the negative 10 becomes a positive 10. And then, just like in addition of integers, negative 10 plus 5, so you go 10 minus 5, which gives you 5, and you take the negative sign because it's the bigger sign. It's the bigger number. And you have negative 5 plus 10, which gives you 5, because 10 minus 5 is 5, but positive 10 is the biggest integer. So next, you have subtracting a positive and negative number. This pretty much works very simply. So you have negative 8 minus positive 4. So, like before, the first integer always carries over, so negative 8 carries over. And then you put negative 4 in parentheses. You always turn it into an addition problem. The negative sign carries to the 4, so you get negative 8 plus negative 4, and then you just add them since they have the same sign to get negative 12. In the next example, you have positive 8 minus negative 4. So you put it in parentheses, and if you can remember from subtraction, when you put a negative number you're subtracting in parentheses, it becomes a positive number. So you have 8 plus 4, and you get 12. I'll see you in the next section, which is multiplying and multiplying integers. The last part of the video is about multiplication of integers. You have two cases. The first case, if the sign is the same, you get a positive answer. If you have positive times a positive or a negative times a negative, the answer is positive. The last case is if the signs are different. If you have a positive times a negative, you get a negative. If you have a negative times a positive, you get a positive. This is because of the commutative property we talked about earlier. Just like addition, with multiplication, it doesn't matter what order you go in. That's why you only have the two cases. Well, this has been my video on adding, subtracting, and multiplying integers. I hope it didn't bore you too much, but remember, this is for a 9th grade class. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.